Okay. So we'll start with the prayers.
Yes, sir.
And after that, we'll continue. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. All of you can also recite with me. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So nice to see all of you present today. And today we are going to discuss about a very nice topic, and which many of you may get a question about this. So it would help you understand this. So many times, question is asked that does spirituality or religion entails blind faith? That means we have to follow whatever it is said or whatever, just like, I was telling a story about that child, and then Manasvi got a question that should we follow blindly whatever is told? So no, faith has a very deeper meaning. So here you can see some examples of blind faith. There is also something called a real faith or reasonable faith, scientific faith, which is required, right? Just like you can see here, this boy, he is giving some money, and this bogus guru is saying that you chant this mantra and then you'll pass the exam. So such kind of practice is an example of blind faith. Similarly, you can see this is a tradition. I was just searching and I found that in Tamil Nadu, they call it by some name in which they, walk on fire. How many of you know about this practice? Walking on fire. Okay. So there is a practice, such practice in which they walk on fire. Yeah, some of you know. Similarly, you can see here, there are some other rituals in which, they are piercing on the tongue, right, with a sharp object, right? So these are all examples of blind faith. And toward the upper right corner, you can also see, these three people who are blindfolded, and then they are trying to, go the way, and they're going to get, off the cliff. So we see that blind faith is not required. It is undesirable. It should not be done. And not only that, it is also unscientific. Blind faith basically means there is no way you can verify it. So these are the three, you can say the three qualities of blind faith. One, it is undesirable. It is not required. It is not sensible. It does not make sense. Like suppose I tell that you chant this mantra and you'll pass the exam. Does it make any sense? How you'll pass the exam by chanting some mantra, right? And it is unverifiable. Like suppose I say if you do this, then you will become this or you get this. So it is unverifiable. I cannot verify is it right or wrong, isn't it? All of you are science student, isn't it? So whenever you learn some theory, also you get some practical, isn't it? How many of you have done some practicals, science lab? You have done some practicals? Yes. So first of all, teacher gives you some theory. Like suppose if you mix these two chemicals, hydrogen will be released. And then you go to the science lab and then you mix their two chemicals, like suppose metal and acid. And actually the hydrogen is formed. So that is the test. So it is verifiable, right? So blind faith has these three characteristics. Undesirable, it should not be done. It is nonsense, not sensible. It does not make any sense, right? And third, it is unverifiable. Okay. So this is about blind faith. But there is also something called reasonable faith or scientific faith, which is very much required. It is essential in everyday life, right? So it means it should be sensible or blind. You can just compare. Blind faith is unreasonable, but on the other hand, reasonable faith is sensible. It is unverifiable, while this is verifiable. So it is, it is, this faith is essential in our day-to-day life also, because you see, whatever you do in life, we have to put faith, isn't it? Like all of you go to doctor. How many of you have gone to doctor sometimes? Most of you, isn't it? All of us get some sickness, some illness, and we go to doctor. So, okay, now let us take this example that you go to a doctor for some treatment. Okay. So do you put faith or not? Because you don't know whether this doctor treatment will cure you or not. That means you are putting some faith. You are not sure, but you are taking a step forward. So is it faith or not? Yes, certainly it is faith. You're putting some faith. But is it blind faith? No, it is not blind faith. How do we make sure that it is not blind faith? Like suppose you go to any person who is sitting on the, who is in the hospital. Like suppose you go to the compounder and say, can you please do a surgery for me? So then it is like a blind faith because it does not make sense. How can a compounder do surgery for you, isn't it? Or you ask a nurse, can you please do surgery on me? So it is then becoming a blind faith because it does not make any sense. Or you go to some auto rickshaw wala and you ask, can you please, see my toothache? My tooth is paining. Can you please give me some medicine? So then it becomes blind faith because it does not make any sense, isn't it? So similarly, suppose you go to some sadhu and ask him, can you please help me get good marks in exam? Does it make any sense? If you want to get good marks in exam, you study, you learn under it some teacher, right? Isn't it? So it does not make any sense. So then it becomes blind faith. Now, first of all, you'll check. What you'll check? You'll check that, is the doctor really learned? Has he taken his degree from some college or university, his MBBS? So similarly, not only in doctor case, but you'll see that even in so many day-to-day activity, you put faith. Just like all of you, maybe or may not be, you might have traveled with aeroplane, isn't it? Yeah. So we know that so many times aeroplane crashes, isn't it? So many times aeroplanes crash and so many people are killed. But just because aeroplane crashes, do you stop going on aeroplanes? Do people stop going on aeroplanes? No. Is it blind faith or reasonable faith? It is reasonable faith because you have checked the history. So many flights are going and maybe one or two are crashing. So, okay, it is reasonable faith, right? So you check whether the company is good or not, right? This company, how many flights go okay, how many flights go wrong, like that. Similarly, even in spiritual science, we have to put faith. Like I ask you to chant the names of God. And so here you can see a very nice quotation about spiritual faith. First, take the science of God very seriously, then put your trust in him. That means it is not that, we have to first put faith. We have to blindly accept whatever I'm saying. Like whatever I say from Bhagavad Gita or anything about spiritual science, I don't say that you follow me. I say, think about it. Isn't it? I always give you an answer based on logic. I never ask you that you have to follow it. Just like if I say, chant the names of God, what do I say? Why should I chant the name of God? Because God is all pure. If you chant the names of God, you come in contact with God and you also become pure. And it is not that it is unverifiable. You can verify it. If you chant it, sincerely practice it, you'll find yourself transforming. So we have to take the science of God seriously. So this is the reasonable faith or the characteristic of reasonable faith. It is important. It is essential. We cannot do without it. We cannot live our life without it. It is sensible. It makes sense, right? And it is verifiable. You can verify it, right? Just like we again go to the doctor example. How do you make sure that your faith is not blind faith? First, you look at the credential. Is this doctor a proper doctor? Has he taken his degree from some college, MBBS? Isn't it? Then does it make sense? You go to doctor, you say that my doctor, I have got some stomach pain, and he gives you advice that I'll cut your leg. Then your stomach pain will get cured. Does it make sense? Then you'll reject such a doctor, isn't it? You'll say, no, I am not going to get, diagnosed by you. But if he says that, you have got some acidity in your stomach, that is why your stomach is paining, and I'll give you some some bases and which will cure your disease. So then it makes sense, isn't it? And then you'll say, yes, doctor, please go ahead. So first you look whether he's a bona fide doctor. Second, you see that is what he's saying making sense. So that is first thing. Second, you verify. Suppose he give you some medicine and you take it for 1 week and then your condition improves. So then you can verify, yes, what doctor has said is making sense, and it is curing me of the disease, isn't it? So this kind of faith is essential. This kind of faith is the reasonable faith, right? You understood what are the 2 points in reasonable faith? What are these? First is sensibility, second is verifiability. You can remember these two things. Reasonable faith is sensible and verifiable. You can verify it, and it makes sense. It is not like anything. So, and we have to put such a faith in every walk of life. So now coming to religion, in case of religion, how can we make sure that our faith is intelligent, sensible, and verifiable? Because many times people think that religions means you have to follow some rituals, and you don't know how it will work, how it is going to happen, but you just follow it because everyone is doing it, isn't it? So many rituals happen in our homes also, and we don't know why we are doing this, right? You might be asking your parents why we do it, and they also may not be knowing, many of them. So it is not like that. Even in case of religion, like the Bhagavad Gita, let us take the example of Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita is spoken by whom? Who spoke Bhagavad Gita?
Sir, Krishna.
Yes, Lord Krishna spoke. So you'll see that it has 18 chapters. And in the end, what Lord Krishna says, you can see this verse, Bhagavad Gita 18.63. Okay, I'll maybe just show you this verse so that you are sure. Bhagavad Gita 18.63. Okay, Bhagavad Gita 18.63. So yes, 18.63 is this. Yes. Iti te jnanam akyatam guhyat guhyataram maya vimarsayat asesena yathechasi tatha kuru. These two last lines are very important. What Lord Krishna is saying, thus I have explained to you knowledge is still more confidential. This one, deliberate on it fully. That means think about it fully. Don't accept it without thinking. And then what you wish to do. That means it is not that after telling all the knowledge, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is, impressing Arjuna and saying that, you see, I have so much of knowledge, then you do what I say. Does he say like that? No. What he's saying, let us see. Right? Yes. So in spiritual science also, we can use our intelligence. It is not that you have to blindly follow. You can ask questions, just like you asked a question and I answered you in a scientific way. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that, intelligently think about it, right? Think about it and then you decide what you have to do, right? So Bhagavad Gita is not calling for blind faith. Lord Krishna never says, I am saying this and therefore you have to do this. Rather, he is saying, use your intelligence to contemplate what is being told and then decide on what you are supposed to do. So in this way, we can understand this is sensible, right? It makes sense. God is not saying that, you just do what I'm saying. He says that think about it. So sensible. Now, how we can verify? Is it also verifiable? Now, the second aspect. Yes, it is also verifiable. As Lord Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita 9.2. Pratyaksh avagamam dharmyam susukham kartum avyayam. That means if anyone follows this process, which Lord Krishna has told in Bhagavad Gita, then what will be the result? He will actually experience. Pratyaksh. Pratyaksh means something which is evident. He will actually experience those higher truth. He will become aware of the inner realities and he will become happy, right? So generally people think how they verify God. They think that I'll pray to God and if God will fulfill my this wish, then God exists. Otherwise, God does not exist, isn't it? People say like that. If God exists, then he will make you pass in the exam. So is it right way of verifying about God? No, this is, completely foolish. So God will exist whether I pass or not. It is not a right way of. So how we can actually, verify whether God exists or not? So actually we are already over time, but I'll take 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes more. We'll go till 7:35. Okay. So whether God exists or not, it depends on, are we getting that those higher spiritual experience by following the process, right? And how anyone can say, yes, I'm getting those spiritual experiences. How we can verify? The verification is are you able to resist from bad habits? Right? Like suppose one is getting higher spiritual happiness by connecting to God, then what will happen? Automatically, he will give up lower habits like alcoholism, smoking, and he will get higher happiness, higher wisdom, by strength of which he will be able to give up this lower things. And we have seen actually this has happened not only with me, but many people like me, right? I can see at least this happening in my own life. I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't, see any bad things. And I am free from many of the, bad things which people of my age actually feel. Why? Because I'm getting those higher strength, higher wisdom, and higher happiness by which I can say no to those bad things. Right? Now, another question may come your mind that, okay, sir, whatever you told is okay, but I am not getting addicted to this thing. I don't smoke, I don't drink. How can I see for myself I am a child? So the answer is, still you may have some lower qualities, isn't it? All of us get angry, all of us get greedy, isn't it? Just like you can see here in this picture, this two children are fighting over a doll. I'll get this doll or you will get this doll. So they are greedy, right? Here you can see this child, he is not satisfied with his ice cream, but he's looking upon others ice cream, right? So all of us, even as children, you have these things, isn't it? But if you truly practice the science as it is given in Bhagavad Gita, chant the names of God, then what will happen? You'll become free from these things, right? So that is the test. You'll be able to become more better human beings. So this is the test. Okay, so we have so many more things to discuss. So what I thought is, maybe I'll keep another part for it, and then I'll make a summary tomorrow. Okay, so how many of you thought that the discussion that we made about reasonable faith and blind faith makes some sense to you, or at least you got some understanding what is the difference between the two? Okay, what about others? I know I was little fast today because there's so many points to cover, so I could not, properly give you time to ask question. Okay, so what I'll do is we'll, make it into two, and tomorrow again I will take this and answer further question if you have. Okay, so thank you all very much for joining today. We'll chant at least 3 times. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so thank you all very much for joining today. Hare Krishna.
Bye, sir. Hare Krishna.
Bye, Hare Krishna.
Bye, sir. Bye.
Bye. Okay, so we'll start with the class, Dhruvi. Just
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.